Namaste and hello everyone. This is BK Sagar here again with you all to share about the science and the spirituality. This is the day 2 where we will be knowing about whether the soul exists or not in scientific way. So, dear friends, I remember one form of evidence about the existence of soul comes from the researches done in this regard by many psychologists and psychiatrists. They have done research work for a number of years, and their research is firmly grounded in the methods of the modern science. Some of them have done research by interviewing hundreds of cases of such persons who were declared clinically dead by the doctors attending on them, and also who returned to the life after resuscitation. Others have done research on hundreds of persons by the use of the method which is called as hypnotic regression. Still, others who have done research by interviewing hundreds of small children who told stories about their past lives. And now all these researchers corroborate the belief in the existence of a metaphysical self, that is the soul or the consciousness, which is immortal and which takes another body after leaving one body. And some few other scientists have discussed the question of the existence of soul in the light of the neurological researches on the brain and the consciousness, and still others have discussed the question in the light of quantum mechanics, theory of relativity, data processing theory, thermodynamics, entropy, etc. And so here in this video I will discuss briefly some evidence from one of the above areas. Dr. Raymond A. Moody Jr. has done pioneering work in his field. After obtaining his doctorate in philosophy, he did research on these three kinds of persons. First, those who were resuscitated after having been thought, adjudged, or pronounced clinically dead by the doctors. Second, those who, in the case of the accidents or severe injury or illness, they came very close to the physical death. And third, those who they died and they told the experience to other people who were present, and this later reported by the Dr. Moody. And Dr. Moody has studied about such 150 cases. After studying this cancer, Dr. Moody then constructed a model of experience of death, and he found that there were remarkably similarities in all the cases. And so he then described this in his book, Life After Life. I will tell you short about what is written in the book. A man is dying as he reaches the point of greatest physical distress. He hears himself pronounced death by his doctor, and after this he then suddenly finds himself outside of his own physical body but still in the immediate physical environment, and he sees his own body from a distance as though he is a spectator. He then watches the resuscitation attempt from this unusual vantage point, and he is in a state of emotional upheaval. Then after a while, he then collects all the memories and becomes more accustomed to his odd condition. He then notices that he still has a body but of a very different nature and with a very different powers from the physical body that he has left behind. Then soon other things then begin to happen. Others come to meet and to help him. He glimpses the spirits of relatives and who have already died, and a loving, warm spirit of a kind he has never encountered before. A being of light appears before him. He then have had the interaction with that super being. At some point, he then finds himself approaching some sort of barrier or border, apparently representing the limit between earthly life and the next life. Yet he finds that he must go back to the earth, that the time for his death has not yet come. At this point, he resists, for by now he is so taken up with his experience in the afterlife. And then he does not want to return. He is overwhelmed by intense feelings of joy, love, and happiness and peace despite his attitude, though he somehow reunites with his physical body and lives. Then later, he tries to tell others, but he was having big trouble in that place and he cannot find any human words adequate to his unearthly episodes. Still, the experience affects his life profoundly, especially his views about death and its relationship to the life. So it should be noted that in all cases studied by Dr. Moody, death was seen as a transition from one state to another, and some of his subjects even likened death as escape from the jail. Another typical case of the death experience was that of the Dr. George Ritchie. This was published in the Washington Post. Dr. Ritchie was declared clinically dead in 1943, and if anyone doubts this fact, Dr. Ritchie has got the hospital staff sworn testimony on this point and has, in addition to this, the doctor's written opinion that Ritchie's virtual call from death and return the vigorous health has to be explained in terms other than the natural means. Here, Ritchie has explained his experience of leaving the body. He felt he was floating above the trees and observing the things below. Ritchie then says, "Now I know it sounds ridiculous. I get outside and shush, man, I'm traveling at something approaching the speed of the sound. After 100 to 500 feet above the trees, and suddenly I am crossing this large river and I see his little town. There is this lone guy coming down the street. There is this all-night cafe on the corner." Then Ritchie also had experience with being of a light. He said, "There is this little 15-watt bulb there, and I thought that bulb was getting brighter, and suddenly the intensity of that light was so strong that the only thing I could compare it to is if you turned on a million welder lights and you had some of the intensity of the light. Then nothing like I would ever seen any stained glass windows. The hospital walls had disappeared, and every single thing that had ever happened to me from the time I was born was there in panoramic view." So he experienced that panoramic view after being in that soul consciousness form. But guess that I have never seen in the presence of such total and absolute love, being that totally knew everything about me and totally accepted me and totally loved me. Then a moment before, desperately alone and frightened until gloom, now to be in the presence of this being, I didn't want to leave him under any circumstances. The Christ is like something you have never seen. I don't have the words to get this across. Then what happens? The being of light then asks Richie some question. Now the first question he throws at me is, "What have you done with your life?" I definitely can hear, but I'm not hearing from ears, but it's like you and I sitting here, and there is no need for us to talk because every time you think of something, I'm instantaneously aware of it. I have to laugh today. I want you to get the ludicrousness of this situation. I'm trying to look over some of the better parts of my life and hoping he won't notice some of the embarrassing parts. I think, well, I was in an Eagle Scout. And then, so I'm hedging. I'm thinking I was president of my college fraternity. I'm thinking I'm too young to die. And he was referring to the being of the light to whom he was interacting with. Then the being light said, "No one is too young to die." This experience also, like the experience of many others, bears out that fact that the soul is different from the body and that God is a being of light who is knowledgeful. And you see, many others have also done this kind of research and have published their findings. These all give similar findings. Dr. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, a Swiss-born doctor who was written forward of Dr. Moody's book in one of them, and few others have also published the research, like Frank Smith and Rose Stemen and Arnold Toneby and Roy Stemen and Arthur Koester, like this. They also wrote a book titled At the Hour of Death. And you see, in many hypnotic regression areas, like they have also researched on this and have got some bit of evidence that during the hypnotic regression, the doctor Helen Webmack, among many others, has done extensive research work on this experience to rebirth and past life through this method. So we'll discuss about it in our next video, otherwise this one will get too long. So hopefully everyone, those who are listening this, may think on these aspects and try to believe that soul exists and how we are connected to the Supreme Soul. So that's it for today. Take care and have a nice day. Thank you.